Hello, my name's Rachel Collis, and in this short presentation I'm going to explain to you how a tool called the ACT Matrix can help you to be the person you want to be more often. The ACT Matrix is a tool based on contextual behavioural science, and it can help you to live your values more consistently, even when you're in the grip of painful thoughts and feelings. I want to start just by very quickly thanking those who have developed this tool, and that includes Kevin Polk, Mark Webster and Gerald Hambright, and also Benji Schoendorf, who has developed the tool further. You'll notice, if you have come across the ACT Matrix before, that I used a flipped round version, and that version was developed by Kingsley Mudd. It's fundamentally the same tool, but it's just the axes are flipped round. If you haven't come across the ACT Matrix before, don't worry about that. So this is the ACT Matrix, and it's a tool to sort your behaviour on two axes, and I'll explain how it works in a moment. But the tool fundamentally asks you to pause and notice, and then to sort your behaviour into 4 quadrants: values and purpose, hooks or inner experiences that can hook us, towards move or behaviour that's an expression of the person you would like to be in a particular situation, and away moves, behaviour that takes you away from who you want to be and that's under the control of those unwanted inner experiences. The matrix aims to increase our capacity to track our own internal and external behaviour over time, and to help us to consciously choose to live our values more consistently. At the centre of the matrix is a circle with the words noticing with kindness and curiosity, and this quality of noticing in this way is important. I'll explain why in a moment. So, in order to sort into our 4 quadrants, we look at our behaviour on 2 axes. The first axis we use to explore our behaviour is to notice the difference between 5 senses experiencing in the physical world and inner experiencing in the symbolic world. Humans have this capacity to create rich inner experiences that feel very similar to our 5 senses experiencing, and being able to differentiate between those 2 experiences is important. So let's look at a really simple example that Kevin Polk uses, and I think is really helpful. And that example is a pen. If you happen to have a pen handy, pick it up and try this activity along with me. So if you pick up the pen, and first of all experience it through your vision, kind of see the shape of the pen, how the light shines on the pen as you move it around, the different colours and textures. Now experience it through touch. Feel the pen. What does it feel like? Where is it smooth? Are there any places that are kind of rougher than others? What does it feel like? If you've got a pen like mine that can make a noise, I think you can hear that, it's very soft, that can make a click, get it to make a click. If not, you might want to tap it or take the lid off it. Just experience the sound of it. Now you may or may not want to smell your pen. I'll let you decide. But you can kind of smell, and my pen, it's got a slightly metallic kind of ink smell to it. I'm not going to get you to taste your pen for reasons of hygiene. So you can experience your pen through your 5 senses. And if you've got a piece of paper handy, I'd like you to just think of a word and write a word with your pen. Here's the word I wrote. Now pop your pen down, and we're going to experience that pen through our inner experiences, inner experiencing in our symbolic world. So close your eyes if you're in a place where that's appropriate, and imagine the pen. See if you can create a vivid picture of the pen. What did it look like? How did it feel in your hands? What sound did your pen make? How did it smell? And imagine writing a word in your mind with the imaginary pen. And now open your eyes. And if you're like most people, you could actually create quite a vivid picture of the pen, and you could imagine yourself writing a word with the pen. But there's a fundamental difference between the pen in your mind and the pen in the five senses experiencing world. And one of those differences is that nobody can tell what you wrote with your imaginary pen. You don't know what I wrote with my imaginary pen, but you know what I wrote with my five senses experiencing pen. And be able to kind of pull those two things apart, the difference between what's going on inside us and what's going on in our five senses experiencing world, is an important thing. Humans have this capacity to treat our inner world as if it's the same as the physical world, and this is an incredibly useful skill. If you look around you at the room you're sitting in at the moment, this is the room that I'm sitting in, my consulting room, most of what you can see is a result of the human capacity to create vivid pictures of the world. We create a vivid picture of the world, we imagine how things can be, we manipulate it in our mind as if it's the real thing, and then we create the thing. And sometimes that's just kind of a chair in a room, but sometimes it's very complicated and beautiful, and this is a really important skill that humans have. But the problem comes when what's going on inside us isn't really kind of solving a real world problem, a problem in the five senses experiencing. It's that the thing that we're kind of dealing with inside us are painful thoughts and feelings. Now, painful thoughts and feelings turn up in response to the realities of life. Memories of bad times can pull us out of a perfectly okay present moment. Imaginings about a future that we don't want can freak us out. And so we create these vivid inner images of stuff that has happened and isn't happening now, or could happen in the future and may never happen. But it seems so vivid that we can then freak ourselves out because it feels real. And so we need to be able to differentiate between what we're experiencing through our five senses and what's going on inside us in our inner world. So here's an example. I give my partner a hug hello. And that might feel wonderful, but also it might provoke feelings inside me and thoughts inside me. I actually might feel uncertain about whether I'm lovable enough, whether my partner loves me. I might remember a time that was different to this time when I felt so alone. And then I might start to worry about how this is all going to go horribly wrong. And so my inner experiencing, if I let it hook me, can take me away from the present moment, this moment that I'm in now. And so I need to be able to have those internal stuff and notice it, but also notice that it's different to what's going on through my five senses. And I need to be able to notice both of those things with this curiosity and kindness. What's inside me, what's in the real world, the five senses experiencing world. The other axes that we use to sort behaviour in the matrix is between moving towards and away from our values, moving towards the person we want to be, and moving away from who we want to be. And just starting to notice in each moment, am I living my values or not? Is my behaviour in this moment aligned with my values or purpose or not? It's kind of really important to kind of just track that. Am I moving towards who I want to be? Am I moving away? So if we combine the two axes of towards and away, and five senses experiencing and inner experiencing, we get four quadrants. In the inner experiencing world, in the top quadrant, the towards quadrant, we have values and purpose. And in any particular moment, you can notice and think about what really matters to me here. What values do I want to express in this situation? What's my overall purpose? And in the same moment, we can also notice the hooks that come up. the thoughts and feelings that can hook us. This can be thoughts like, this is too hard, I'm not good enough. And it can also be painful feelings like anxiety or anger or sadness or urges to act impulsively. And we can notice those with kindness and curiosity, those thoughts and feelings that kind of have a hooky quality to them. At the same moment in the five senses experiencing world, in that towards quadrant, we have towards moves, where we're taking action to live our values. So at the same moment that we notice those hooks, we can also think about the behaviour that would be an expression of the person that I really want to be. And you can notice with kindness and curiosity whether you're doing that behaviour or not. This quality, noticing with kindness and curiosity, is really important. So noticing, am I moving towards? What are my hooks? What are my values and purpose? And particularly noticing with kindness and curiosity, my away moves in that bottom right-hand corner, where we combine away, moving away with five senses experiencing, behaviour that takes us away from our values. And particularly we're interested in behaviour that is away from our values, that is under the control of our hooks. Because when we get hooked by painful thoughts and feelings, we often respond with behaviour that takes us away from who we want to be. I might feel anxious. But instead of noticing that anxiety with kindness and curiosity, I decide instead to squish it down and get rid of it. And the way I do that, I eat some chocolate. So sometimes eating some chocolate is a towards move for me. It's an expression of me caring for myself and nurturing myself. But when I eat chocolate as a way of trying to get rid of feelings of anxiety, it's really an away move. It's about me not being the person I want to be, not being able to feel my feelings and trying to get rid of them in unhealthy ways. Because the trick is that we don't want painful feelings, and we know that painful feelings like anxiety and anger and sadness can lead us away from who we want to be. And so one of the things we can do is we can try to get rid of these unwanted thoughts and feelings. But the problem is that it's really hard to get rid of painful thoughts and feelings, and sooner or later they come back. And not only that, but what we now know is that trying to avoid painful inner stuff, anger, anxiety, sadness, actually shuts down our capacity to feel joy and connection and contentment and happiness. That we can't actually get rid of painful feelings without also limiting our capacity to enjoy contentment and connection and happiness and joy. So we have to kind of learn a way to open up to all of our feelings, whatever they are, and kind of let ourselves feel them. But in a way that doesn't mean that they control our behaviour anymore. Because if we can't be with our unpleasant internal stuff, we're actually more likely to be hooked by it and allow it to control our behaviour. And when we're hooked, we end up doing all sorts of unskillful and ineffective actions that take us away from who we want to be. We need to be able to mindfully notice those behaviours when they show up. If I can notice in the moment that I feel anxious and insecure, and that's a kind of hooky feeling for me, and I kind of sort it into that quadrant, oh, there's a hook. And if I can also notice the behaviour that is an away move that's under the control of that hook, here am I acting distant and chowing down the chocolate. If I can notice that mindfully, then that kind of gives me a degree of self-awareness and presence that's helpful. Even more if I can add to that and think about what values and purpose are relevant in this moment, if I can kind of pause and breathe, notice that lower quadrant stuff that's going on, but also think about the values and purpose. What matters to me here? Who do I want to be? And in this case, it might be I want to feel compassionate, and I want to be authentic. I want to express compassion. I want to be authentic. Then, even in the presence of those hooky feelings, even though what I want to do is act distant and eat chocolate, I can also notice that perhaps the person I want to be might want to talk to my partner about how I'm feeling. And so what I can do is I can use this tool to track kind of the whole of this, to track what's going on inside me and to track what's going on in the five senses experiencing world, in my behaviour, to notice my towards move and away moves kind of in one place. And then from that, it might be that I'm just a little bit more likely to take wise and thoughtful action that will be aligned with my values. This kind of noticing the whole picture with this quality of kindness and curiosity, to see if it's possible to notice it all. Notice and kind of just not mindfully notice it and sort it into one of the four quadrants. Ah, that's a hook. Oh, look at me, that's an away move. Oh, I'm doing a towards move now. Or, oh, my towards move now would be this. Which values am I living right now? Which values do I want to live? How does this connect to my purpose? Noticing this all with kind of kindness and curiosity and self-compassion. There's a bit of a trick here around that it's important not to label towards as good and away as bad. Because if you do that, then if you lose that self-compassion and curiosity, then what can happen is you can kind of start beating yourself up whenever you do an away move, and that sort of makes the tool much less effective. So noticing all this with kind of kind and curious observation seems to be a really important way of approaching it. So I invite you to start sorting your behaviour, to notice what's happening inside you, and to also notice the actions you take in the physical world. To notice your hooks and your values, notice your towards and away moves. Just kind of notice and sort with great kindness and curiosity and see what happens. I hope that over the next few days you pause, notice, sort your behaviour into the four quadrants, and then choose, and that the choice to do a towards move feels like a free and valued choice rather than a have to. I hope that as you do that over and over again, that this leads to more richness in your life and to you more often being the best version of you. If you found this useful, you can read the blog I co-author with Rob Archer and Paul Atkins at workingwithact.com, or you can sign up for my newsletter at my website www.rachelcollis.com.au, and there is a PDF handout of this version of the Matrix at my website. I also want to recommend Kevin Polk's website, drkevinpolk.com. There's lots of free resources about the Act Matrix on that website. So we've explored the Act Matrix and this idea of sorting your behaviour into these four quadrants, kind of either as you go about your day, or if you've got a tricky moment, kind of sitting there with a pen and paper and drawing out the four quadrants and sorting out what's going on for you internally and what's going on in the real world in your behaviour, and which of those are towards and away moves, which of those are about, kind of what's hooky and what are your values and purpose, kind of just noticing and sorting all that and bringing mindfulness. I hope that's helpful for you, and take care.